for the homeless and those that are in need throughout the South Los Angeles area.
The center is a collaboration between St. Joseph Center and First to Serve, a nonprofit organization that provides substance abuse help and supportive housing facilities located throughout Los Angeles.
South Los Angeles has one of the highest concentrations of people experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles. 7,500 people at our last count. And most of them, the overwhelming majority, are on our streets. 5,700 people. That's one moment. It doesn't count everybody who falls into homelessness on an annual basis, probably 2 or 3 times that number.
Services at this facility include housing, vouchers for housing emergency shelter services, and much more.
It has to happen out there on the street, and once we coax somebody off the street, it has to happen in a place that makes them feel like they're human beings again. And that's what this is all about.
And this is one of the many projects the City of Angels is taking flight on as it addresses the homeless issue of Los Angeles. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Recently, LA voters passed Measure H, which hikes the countywide sales tax by 1/4 cent to pay for homeless services and funds efforts to prevent people from becoming homeless. But for those people who remain homeless on our streets, one organization is already bringing dignity and hope to those who need it most. Anna Marcos has more from downtown LA.
These mobile showers on wheels just made their big debut in town. And Jose Ruiz, for one, looks pretty psyched to try them out.
Welcome. It's a nice shower.
Another big shower lover, Maureen Olivier.
I feel clean. You're out in the street. It's terrible. It's cleanliness against godliness. You get clean clothes, you get your hair washed, and I like cleanliness. If I had my way, I'd be able to stay 2 hours in this shower.
The shower truck is run by a group called Lava May. It makes the rounds in areas like downtown, South LA, and Venice, bringing showers to about 40 homeless residents a day.
I'm here because I'm homeless. I stop here for breakfast and showers. It's very relaxing.
Each guest gets a clean towel and a bag of care products. Let's see what's in here. There's shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrush, all kinds of goodies.
Health and hygiene is such a huge need here in our community.
Here's Jose Ruiz coming back out, so fresh from his shower, he can't help but play a little Valero ball. And boy, do these guests get the star treatment. The showers and toilets are cleaned and made to sparkle like new after each use. Oh, and the service includes lots of hugs.
But that's what we call radical hospitality. Radical hospitality is about treating everybody with dignity and really, I think, showing them love.
I feel very good. It's comfortable.
As for Jose Ruiz, well, he's now got quite a spring in his step and apparently in his game.
You feel better and you're healthier. You want to do more for yourself.
The shower is something new. Well, definitely, I could always use a shower.
And now something the rest of us take for granted is giving homeless guests plenty of suds, mixed with a little TLC. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Well, Lava May is always looking for volunteers and donations, especially socks, underwear, and pants. For more information, visit lavamay.org. Well, turning now to parking issues at one of LA's beloved destinations, Griffith Park. And if you've visited lately, then you know it's getting harder and harder to park. That's why city bus service has expanded full-time. Gil Reyes has more from Griffith Observatory. Gil.
Well, Yana, this very popular bus service that takes you all the way up here to the Griffith Observatory and also the nearby Greek Theater has been around for a little while now, but was only available on weekends. Now it will be available all week long, giving people who come up here more options.
Alexandra Perlowski loves visiting Griffith Observatory and the nearby hiking trails, but absolutely hates the drive coming up. Finding a parking space can be tough, even on less crowded weekdays.
It was insane. I had to drive around multiple times. There was so much traffic. It was crazy.
To the rescue, LA Department of Transportation Dash buses. The Dash now stops at the observatory and the nearby Greek Theater every day. Buses leave from the Metro Red Line station at Sunset and Vermont, about 3 miles downhill.
That sounds amazing. I would take it all the time.
We're going to run a dash bus from that stop all the way up to 10 p.m. every night of the week. Every 20 minutes, a dash bus will be leaving that stop and coming up into the park.
And we keep our fares affordable. If you use your tap card, it's 35 cents, which is a screaming deal.
Officials hope the service will inspire more people to use public transit instead of drive here. Area Councilman David Rue has plans to further reduce congestion.
We have also been working with many other partners, including the Ford Theater and the county, to provide additional options for viewing points of the Hollywood sign, which will help reduce and relieve traffic to the residential communities.
Mayor Eric Garcetti pushes for more green space citywide so people from far away won't have to drive to Griffith Park just to experience a little nature.
Our goal is by 2035, 3/4 of all Angelenos will live within walking distance of a park. And those who don't will have easier access through programs like our dash buses and a historic partnership with our school district to ensure that maybe we can get even above that 3/4 and close to 100% of people. I believe all people should have a park within walking distance.
Outside the Griffith Observatory, where you don't need a car to get here. I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Griffith Park Dash service runs from noon to 10 p.m. on weekdays, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekends. Well, turning now to pedestrian fatalities. They're on the rise this year in many parts of LA, and that's got undercover cops out on the street working to put the skids on pedestrian motorist collisions. Anna Marcos has more on the traffic enforcement operation.
Motorists and pedestrians alike, watch out. These plainclothes cops are posing as pedestrians, and they're on the look for those who disobey traffic laws after a rise in pedestrian fatalities. Last year, the valley saw 33 people on foot killed, but this year, the first 2 months alone have seen 11 pedestrian fatalities, an increase of 200%.
And when a driver's traveling 40 miles an hour, there's an 80% chance of death.
This undercover operation is taking place in one of the 40 highest priority intersections in the city, and 4 of them are right here in the valley.
What we're looking for are the drivers that don't stop and yield the right-of-way to them as they're crossing the street.
If the pedestrians are not obeying the rules of the road, they will be cited just as the drivers will be cited because each person has a responsibility.
Department of Transportation workers are also on the joint operation because sometimes the street has to be engineered to make it safer for pedestrians.
The first thing we look at is to see if there's been a pattern of other types of fatalities or crashes at that intersection. Maybe it was related to lighting, or maybe it was because the traffic speeds are higher.
Here are some tips. If you're a motorist, slow down. Stay alert at both marked and unmarked intersections. Look in all directions and no texting or phone use. If you're a pedestrian, look before you cross. Proceed slowly. Make sure the driver sees you. Cross only at marked or unmarked intersections and stay off texting and phones as well.
In a traffic collision, a pedestrian always loses. You're going up against a very heavy vehicle.
Lucky for these perpetrators, today is focused more on education. But next time, instead of a warning, they might get a citation or worse. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
And by the way, even pedestrians can get fines of more than $100. While the city is on a mission to fill up potholes. January alone saw 3,700 requests for repairs, more than quadrupling the usual amount. As Gil Reyes reports, new computer tablets are helping to fill those craters in record time.
Following heavy rains and the damage they've caused, the city declares war on potholes. Bureau of Street Services supervisors like Alan Ginger have new technology in their arsenal before heading to the combat zone.
This is the best thing that's happened since I've been working for the city. And I've worked for the city 31 years.
You might call these weapons of mass reconstruction. All 24 Bureau of Street Services supervisors are equipped with these Android tablets. They help detect potholes citywide as soon as possible. In fact, the agency says it now repairs them within 3 days or less, whereas it used to take a week, sometimes more.
The tablets work by receiving tips from us, the public. Increasingly, people are reporting potholes through the city's My LA 311 app on their smartphones.
And then we can put the location in, details of it, contact information if you want it to be sent back to you so that you know it's been done or when it's been done. You can put a photo and you can add comments so that we can find it much easier. Sometimes our reaction time might be 10 or 15 minutes from when it came in. And then people will come out and say, I just put it in. And it feels good.
In a previous system, on a Tuesday morning, a street maintenance supervisor would print out yesterday's pothole service requests and go out in the field with a stack of these, inspect the potholes, write down notations on here, and then have to come back to the desktop PC at the end of the day to type these notations back in the database.
Not anymore with these faster, portable tablets, which also reduce paper waste. The technology comes courtesy of the Mayor's Innovation Fund. And other city agencies making repairs out in the field are headed towards the same system.
So we've been working with sanitation. They have a system where they're delivering the same types of services. We're also in the process of getting this technology to the Department of Transportation as well as Recreation and Parks. We want to have a digital mobile workforce that is very connected to the needs of those who live in LA.
Filling potholes and other requests almost as fast as you can report them. In Cypress Park, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Report potholes or any other street problems through the My LA 311 app. The app is free and available on Apple and Android devices. What is a her story, or artivism for that matter? A group of Latino women artists is creating not only new words, but a new idea of sharing art. Ana Marcos takes in the new exhibit at La Plaza de la Cultura on Alvera Street.
They are known as Mujeres de Maíz, women of the corn. They are women of color, and their mission in life is to share their art and bring creativity and healing to those they share it with.
The painting that I'm standing in front of is mine, and it's called Madre Celestial. She's beautiful, she's transparent, she's covered with the sky, the moon is above her head, the earth is a part of her body, she's balanced.
The group's exhibit at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes looks back on 20 years of sharing what its members called artivism and herstory, art activism and sharing the history of female stories, especially those of Latinas.
We like to say that anybody can be Mujeres de Maíz. It's really, it's a movement, it's an energy. This exhibition today is celebrating 20 years of artistic, cultural production, of spiritual knowledge and healing and sisterhood.
And you won't just look at art on the walls. The women artists create live murals and hold workshops, performances, and demonstrations on everything from art to dance to music to the spiritual arts.
I'm personally involved, and I'm going to be doing a paint and tea night, so I'm going to be teaching basic painting, and we're going to serve some tea.
We have a lot to explore here, both for kids and for families, adults as well. Most of it's free.
The Mujeres de Maíz exhibit runs through May 29th. I'm Ana Marcos for LA This Week.
For more information on performance schedules and exhibit hours, just visit the website on your screen. 500 seniors had the chance to test out their dance moves at a recent celebration held at the LA Hotel in downtown LA. Rasha Goel has more on this yearly event that honors seniors.
Seniors from Los Angeles recently danced to some old and favorite tunes at the 10th Annual Senior Snowball, a winter formal dance and luncheon celebrating the seniors of LA.
We thank them for giving us the love and all that stuff they've done for us throughout the years. It's also our time to celebrate our senior veterans, those who have served in the armed forces, and we give them a little special recognition each and every year when we have this event.
The event, sponsored by the 14th District, was held for seniors from 22 senior clubs in downtown Los Angeles, Boyle Heights, El Sereno, Highland Park, Eagle Rock, and Gliselle Park.
It enhances relationship between the varied communities here in Los Angeles. This is something good.
Classical music is very good. The camaraderie is good. And I'm able to have some kind of a rapport with people and find out what's been going on with my friends.
But the one-day event extends beyond just dancing. It gives seniors an opportunity to engage and socialize.
Meet up with new people, learn new skills, talk to one another about things of life and what one can do to support one another.
For many, it was a few hours of some music and fun, along with creating memorable moments. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Mayor Eric Garcetti takes steps to safeguard Owens Valley communities from flooding as snowpack levels begin to melt. City leaders call on state legislators to move forward with a transportation plan, and another Metrolink station will soon be connecting even more commuters to their final destinations. All these stories in City Beat. Mayor Eric Garcetti has declared a local state of emergency to protect the lands and communities near the Los Angeles Aqueduct from flooding, as this year's historic Eastern Sierra snowpack begins to melt into the Owens Valley. This year's snowpack in the Eastern Sierras is 241% above normal, and once spring sets in, the LADWP expects the snowmelt to send up to 1 million acre-feet of runoff into the Owens Valley. This runoff, nearly twice the amount of water Angelenos use in a year, will likely threaten local communities, hydroelectric power plants, and dust mitigation infrastructure in Owens Lake, with destructive flooding. The emergency declaration will trigger city rules that will enable LADWP to act quickly in response to the threat and begin the process of requesting assistance from the state and federal governments.
When we see a potentially disastrous situation coming, a situation that could hurt our economy, our families, and our environment, we don't wait. We get out in front of it.
The mayor also gathered with State Transportation Secretary Brian Kelly and other elected officials, along with labor, transportation, and business groups at Pershing Square to urge state legislatures to pass a transportation funding package by April 6th, the last day of the legislative session before lawmakers go on spring recess. The transportation funding plan, which has been plagued by delays, would bring much-needed repairs to California's roads, bridges, and highways. City officials say it's time to act now.
Our roads have been neglected to the point where deterioration is accelerating at an alarming pace, and recent storms have made the situation worse. Before we can have a conversation about maintaining our streets, we have to deal with the roads that need to be entirely reconstructed.
Construction of a $15 million Burbank Airport North Metrolink station got underway at the northwest corner of Hollywood Way and San Fernando Boulevard, with completion slated for the spring of 2018. Officials say this project will provide a better, faster, and more seamless rail connection between Burbank Airport and the Metrolink commuter rail system. The station, located between the Sun Valley and downtown Burbank stations, will be on Metrolink's Antelope Valley line. The airport is already served by a station on Metrolink's Ventura County line. Both of those lines serve Union Station in downtown Los Angeles. Some lucky daughters and fathers came together to bond over tea and goodies as the 5th annual Father-Daughter Tea kicked off. Ana Marco shows us the deeper meaning behind the festive party.
It all looks so pretty in pink, as more than 100 dads took some girl time out with their daughters for the Father-Daughter Tea.
Fathers have the opportunity to really engage in conversation, see how their daughters are doing, and check in with them. And so something that they can do at home. They will not have to go to some fancy restaurant. They can sit right in their front yard.
It's just a time for fathers and daughters to get together and build their relationship.
This is the 5th annual Father-Daughter Tea put on by a group called Project Fatherhood. Sure, there's fingernail painting. Some of the dads even try to enjoy that. Then there's tiaras, tea, coloring, drawing, picture taking, and lots of time for TLC.
Well, for me, I like drinking the tea. And my daughter, she loves getting her nails done.
But Project Fatherhood also has a more serious mission to help dads in the inner city, many who have never had good role models themselves, get back in touch with their children.
I'm here with my 2 little beautiful daughters. They're Mary Jane and Selena. They're 3 years old, doing decorations and having fun, having a little tea party.
Many of these fathers were really beat down growing up, whether by parents, whether by the social system, they were beat down negatively.
But today, all was positivity and fun. And what a fantasy day for these little girls time with Dad, and a new dress. Wow! The girls also got a chance at a bike raffle, and all of them got an American Girl doll and a tea set, which means the girls can now invite Dad to a tea party at home anytime. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
The toys were donated by Mattel and other toy companies. Project Fatherhood, by the way, also holds father-son bowling and father-family hiking events to help dads bond with their families. I'll learn all about the artwork inside the Metro rail system. History comes alive at the Wattles mansion and helps celebrate Earth Day in Taluka Lake. All this in this week's Things to Do. Metro Art Moves is a free series of regularly scheduled and special tours of art walk in the Metro rail system. Regular tours are led by trained Metro Art Docent Council volunteers and provide insights into the artworks, artists, and art-making processes. Special tours heighten the passenger experience in novel and engaging ways through the perspective, experience, and knowledge of artists and cultural experts. Tours are free and reservations are not required. See the tours in action on April 1st from 10 to 12 p.m. beginning at the Hollywood Highland Metro Station. For more, visit metro.net. The spring of 2017 marks the second year of the Wattles Mansion Designer Showcase. The theme will demonstrate through interior design how to reinterpret a historic home for today's contemporary lifestyle. The title of this year's showcase is Hollywood History, the New Classics. The Wattles Mansion was built in 1908 and was the original home of famous financier Gurdon Wattles, who bankrolled much of early Hollywood. Today, the residence, owned by the City of Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks, comprises the only remaining example of a pre-film industry Hollywood estate. The showcase takes place through April 16th. For more information, visit wattlesshowcase.com. The Greater Taluka Lake Neighborhood Council is hosting its 6th annual Earth Day celebration featuring Taste of Taluka. Bring the entire family and enjoy the Kids Corner. Engage with environmental booths and taste the amazing food while listening to live entertainment. Shop local merchants and contribute to the environment by adopting a tree. The event will take place at the Taluka Lake Farmers Market behind the Wells Fargo building on Riverside and Foreman on Sunday, April 2nd from 10 to 2 p.m. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
MyLA 311 is an easy-to-use mobile phone app. Available from the App Store or on Google Play. MyLA 311 links Angelenos with the services and information they need to enjoy their city, beautify their community, and stay connected with their local government. Find the nearest fire station, library, or even senior citizen center.
Good morning. Good morning. It's Tuesday morning, March 28th. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Harris Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson, 12 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Okay, Bonin moves, Blumenfield seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
O'Farrell moves and Correct seconds. Next.
Mr. President.
Okay, wait. Mr. Herman, you're disrupting the meeting. We haven't even started. Please sit down. Do not disrupt this meeting. Where were we, Madam Clerk?
Mr. President, today is Tuesday and it is time for the flag salute.
Okay, we'll be led today by Mr. Joe Buscaino. All rise.
Thank you. Hands over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Madam Clerk, can we go through the agenda?
Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing. Mr. President, there's cards on number 1.
Continue.
Items 2 through 7 are items for which public hearings have been held. And Mr. President, item number 5 should be held on a desk for an amending motion.
Okay, let's do that and prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Weezer.
Item 6, urgent forthwith, please.
Okay, on item 6, so let's vote on urgent forthwith. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Weezer, that's done. Madam Clerk, continue.
Items 8 through 27 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards?
Yes. There are cards on 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, 25, and 27. And also, Mr. President, item number 13 should also be held for a substitute motion, sir.
Okay, let's hold those items. Mr. Cedillo?
Yes, on matter 11, as stated, I move that we adopt the CAO report.
Okay, so let's prepare to vote.
Mr. President, item 11 has cards, sir.
Okay, so then we will hold that. So let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Continue.
On the supplemental agenda, item 28 is an item for which public hearing has been held.
Okay, members, I think we should hold that item. Or no, Mr. Rue? I think we have to. So let's hold that and move on.
On this, items 29 through 31 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
So without objection, those items are now before this body. Do you have cards?
Yes, sir. There are cards on 29, 30, and 31, sir.
Okay, and that brings us where?
That brings council to presentations, items called special or general public comment.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez, are you ready for your presentation? The floor is yours.
Good morning, members. Are we all here? Colleagues, I would like to recognize some of the exceptionally hardworking and dedicated women of the fire department. The ladies that I have with me today have put in tremendous efforts to grow the number of women at LAFD by creating an amazing program that focuses on exposing young women to the career in fire service. 4 years ago, we saw the lack of gender diversity in LAFD and challenged the department to grow the number of women in their ranks. Since then, they have made great efforts to really work towards addressing gender equity. From the new recruitment campaign that was unveiled last year, asking residents to show their strength by showcasing that strength comes in different forms, to the development of a girls' fire camp that works with teen girls to give them the hands-on experience with the firefighting personnel, the department that has stepped up and shown us how important gender diversity is to them. Today I have with me the women who are behind many of these efforts. Battalion Chief Alicia Welch and Assistant Chief Christian Crowley. These two ladies have impressed me with their efforts and commitment to make the camp a reality. Last year they came to me with an idea, the idea of being that they wanted to provide a safe and non-judgmental space for young girls to get a weekend exposure in what goes into a career in the fire service. In their first event, they had over 70 participants from across the city and region. These girls range from ages 13 to 21, some whom had relatives in the fire personnel, but many who did not. This camp gave them the opportunity to climb ladders, learn CPR, and use a power saw. Real exposure to what some of the things that our LAFD personnel deal with in their everyday jobs. This year, they plan on growing the camp to serve more women by hosting 2 events during the year. They will be hosting the next camp this weekend, April 1st to the 2nd, at Drill Tower 81 in my district. There is over 120 girls registered already. That's 120 young girls who never would have ever thought that this opportunity would have been possible had this camp not come along. I want to give you a small taste of just what this event entails. If we can please roll the video.
Firefighters to me are courageous, confident, and very humble. Interested in this program is because I'm an aspiring firefighter. I plan to make that my career. It's a great way to help others and make a difference in the world. I definitely do have a lot more confidence in being a firefighter after this camp. It has just shown me that it's not all about the strength, it's also about the technique. One big aspect of this whole camp is teamwork. Seeing how far you can push each other by just being a support system. One mind and another mind put together can do greater things than just one individual. Mi nombre es Carolina Gómez y yo quiero ser una bombera.
Colleagues, you often hear me say you can't be what you can't see. And this is exactly the type of top-notch program that will help young ladies potentially see themselves one day entering the fire service. I have made a commitment to these women that I will continue to help build and grow this program because in the long run, this program will be the key to helping us grow the pipeline of women entering the fire service. First Lady Amy Wakeland and I have partnered with some of these women here today to raise $100,000 in support of future girl camp sessions so that more girls across Los Angeles will continue to have an opportunity for years to come. But let me tell you that our goal and plan to diversify the department does not stop here, because the reality is to build a pipeline, we're going to have to need more girls to be exposed to the Korean fire service. But really, it's to ensure that they have the mentorship and the guidance to see them to fruition. To create the opportunities to continue to engage them is only the beginning. This includes everything from getting them into the LAFD magnet schools to the cadet programs. A true pipeline will is more than just a fun activity over the weekend. It's making sure that these girls are confident and see themselves as one day becoming a firefighter. So thank you to all who answered the call to action. So many of you have already responded to our letters of support and made a contribution, and for your support, I thank you for that. I also want to thank these ladies for their vision and dedication to really making this dream a reality. I would like to also thank Battalion Chief Alicia Welch and her Assistant Chief Christian Crawley for an opportunity. I want them to say a few words, and you can please help me give them a big round of applause for their tremendous effort in making sure that the fire camp, she's not your Assistant Chief.
Yes, she is.
But I also want to make sure that we recognize Chief Terraza, who's here this morning, for his effort to ensuring that these ladies get the support needed to go off and recruit young ladies and spend so much of their time in the field, inspiring young Latinas and women of color in particular across the city to see themselves as firefighters. I don't know who wants to speak first. Do you want to speak first, Chief? Okay. And then we'll have the Battalion Chief speak next. Go ahead.
Chief, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Council President West and Councilmember Martinez, members of the City Council, thank you for having us here today. We're here to recognize the upcoming girls' camp at Fire Station 81 this weekend. I'm very proud of my recruitment staff, led by Chief Welch, in developing our female recruitment efforts. We recognized early on in my tenure as a fire chief that we needed 2 simultaneous parallel female recruitment tracks. One track to address our immediate hiring needs and one track to address our future hiring needs. In terms of our immediate needs, we have hired 23 females, with 4 graduating from Drill Tower 40 on April 13th. We anticipate that this number is going to grow as a result of our recently completed recruitment effort, which resulted in an increase from 167 to 370 female candidates, which represents an increase of 121%. Now, in terms of our future hiring needs, we have been diligently working on developing our youth programs, which include our girls' camp, our youth fire academies, our cadet program, and our high school magnet program. Specific to our girls' camp, we were very pleased with our initial girls' camp at Drill Tower 40 last year. There we had approximately 70 young girls who never knew that the opportunity to become a firefighter existed. I overheard one young lady say to a TV reporter that she now wanted to become an LAFD firefighter when she grew up. That's what girls' camp is all about, letting our young girls know of the opportunity and training and teaching them the skills needed to be successful in that pursuit. I also must thank the First Lady of our city, Amy Wakeland, and Councilmember Martinez for their support, especially for the financial donations that will fund this camp and future ones. I also must thank Mayor Garcetti, this City Council, our Fire Commission, for the budgetary support in providing the LAFD the necessary staff to conduct a first-class recruitment effort. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Honorable President Wesson and members of the Council. And I'm here to thank you for all the support that we've had this year, all the way from the top, the Mayor's office, particularly from Councilwoman Martinez, and many of you provided support to us early on in our career expos and now in the girls' camps. This effort is an effort that's not going to be possible without all of your support and the support behind me, Chief Terrazas and his command staff, and also my team behind me. We have a great partnership with Mount St. Mary's, and all the data that we collect comes from my student worker, Jessica Kent, who will be graduating soon and looking for a job somewhere over here at City Hall, so she's right here behind me.
Submit your resume.
But I want to tell you all personally thank you, and I invite you to come out to the camp this weekend out at Drill Tower 81. You will see a young woman come in very shy and scared, and you'll see her walk away very large and empowered and confident. And we're going to be able to do that through all of your efforts. And I also want to let you know President Wesson, we're going to be looking to have our next camp shortly in your area. And we'll be looking for your support and all the members of council in that effort too this summer. Thanks for all your support.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to take the time to thank Councilwoman Martinez, as well as the fire chief and also our fire commission to support these efforts. This is just the beginning, as we know. I've been part of the youth development programs for over 12 years now, and we're seeing an increase, especially with the women. So we continue to push forward and to support those qualified candidates and get them in our pipeline and support them as much as we can. So thank you very much for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I just want to say it's imperative that the data shows that our public safety officers serve our communities better when they reflect the communities they serve. And this is a huge step, and it is every single one of you helping to contribute to these programs, to teach women, like you said, Councilmember Martinez, if you can see it, you can be it. And understanding that and fostering that. And I want to thank Councilmember Martinez, First Lady Amy Elaine Wakeland, Chief Terrazas, Chief Alicia Welch, Chief Kristen Crowley, and everybody who has come together to create this program and has committed to the growth of this program, to the youth programs, so we can actually change this department. So, I mean, the department's fantastic, don't get me wrong, but we can make it more diverse. So thank you so much. Your commitment is imperative, and thank you.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Can I say something, or do you?
Oh, please. We're coming to your district next.
And let me just say how excited I am about that. And I've supported this program before with Ms. Martinez. I support it now. But I just feel compelled to thank you, my colleague, Nuri Martinez, and for all of you. Diversity means everything. It is so critical. And I can't think of anything that women have been engaged with where they don't make it better. All you have to do is look at the police department. I have 2 granddaughters, and I want them to dream to be whatever the hell it is they want to be, and to believe that it is possible. And the only way they can have that dream is because of people like you constantly tearing down the barriers so that people can see it and be it. So I just can't say enough about all of you, but to Ms. Martinez in particular, I am excited that you guys are coming to my district. Of course, I'm going to help financially in any other way that I can, because this is something that I've been supportive since the moment that I was elected on this council, because we don't have enough women in our fire department, and we need to do what we can to ensure that they feel that this could be done. So I'm going to ask everybody, let's give them one more round of applause, because they deserve it.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and every time there's a call to action, you're the first one to step up. Thank you very much. I want to recognize, there was a lot of things that were said about everyone that's helping, and there's been a lot of work that's being done behind the scenes, but if it wasn't for Battalion Chief Welch and Assistant Chief Crowley, this would not be possible. These women are a force. And anytime you get to meet with them and get to plan with them, you become inspired by what they have done in their own professional careers, but what they're asking us to do to ensure that the next generation of female firefighters exist in our city. I want to give them a big round of applause. It's their work, it's their effort that needs to be recognized. So on behalf of the City of Los Angeles and the City Council, I want to recognize Battalion Chief Welch for your outstanding contributions to the girls' camp. Thank you very much. We also have Assistant Chief Kristen Crawley.
Thank you.
And this also could not be possible by a tremendous trailblazer on our commission, Fire Commissioner Rebecca Numberg. Let's give her a big round of applause. So where is our photographer? Okay, here we go. Thank you. Chief.
They're big.
Jim, come on. Thank you very much, Mr. President, and stay tuned. We're coming to a district near you.
All right, one more round of applause. Thank you, guys. Commissioner, always a pleasure. Chief. Okay, what I want to do now, we're going to take up item, I believe, 28. If I could have the cards on item 28. I'd like to call up Beverly Chandler, James O'Sullivan, Kurt Lukert. Is it Uday Stira? Lisa Whitman, please come forward. Just don't be shy. Come on up. This is on item 28. Please identify yourself.
My name is Beverly Chandler. My address is 5321 West 8th Street, Los Angeles, California. And I was not here when the last, session was taken, I believe, and the yeses won. I don't have a problem with yes or no, but I'm basically here because I want an exemption. The reason I want an exemption because my building is not in a residential area. It faces actually commercial in front of me and commercial to the left of me, and it's 1 block away from the great MTA. And so it can be zoned commercial, but it's not. It's a 4-unit building. It's residential. And I know that there's a lot of good things on both sides, but I am requesting an exemption because I don't feel that my building is impacted. It was built in 1928, and I do try to keep it traditional.
Thank you. If I could get the next speaker, please come forward. Jim, identify yourself. Please come forward.
Good morning, council members. My name is James O'Sullivan. I'm the president of the Miracle Mile Residential Association, and I'm here as a poor substitute for ex-council member Rita Walters, who wanted to take this position today, but she's at a doctor's appointment. We decided to send one representative, one person to represent the almost 1,200 people who sent in letters and signed petitions, and the 84 people who showed up at Plum, who wanted the HPOZ approved and to save the almost 500 rent-stabilized units that CPC was pulling out. We want to thank Councilman Rue, Council President Wesson, for putting those areas back in, and for the Plum Commission sending forward to you to save those units. So a vote yes today not only gives us another HPOZ, but you get to save 500 rent-stabilized units. Thank you. We're asking for your vote.
Thank you, Big Jim. Okay, if I could have the next speaker please come and identify yourself. And then I'll be looking for Jay Schoenfeld, Henry Van Marlin, and Linda Sheehan. Yes, sir. Identify yourself.
I'm Kurt Lukert, a property owner in the proposed HPOZ. I'm a member of the MMRA, but I'm against the HPOZ. On the top floor of this great city building is the Tom Bradley Room. In it hangs a resolution signed by the mayor and city council members in 2001. It forever remembers how Mayor Bradley led a long and hard battle to bring rail transportation to the city of Los Angeles and put forward affordable housing and fair planning policies. An HPOZ in this area is a major wrong for the future of all Los Angeles citizens. Measure JJJ, passed by voters in 2016, mandates affordable housing within half a mile of transit stops. Miracle Mile has 2 portals as seen on the map. I urge you to be forward-thinking like our celebrated Tom Bradley and lay the groundwork for new and transformative Miracle Mile, which will enable more and hardworking middle class the opportunity to live in our community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So if I could get the next speaker, and again, if I could get Linda and Larry Sheed, I think it is, you guys would be. Yes, sir, please identify yourself.
My name is Yudhishthira. I'm against the HPOZ. I just want to say, please give everybody the rights, not only in some sites. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm Linda Scheid, and my address is 734 South Dunsmuir Avenue. I want to start off with saying this 8-story building is right across the street from me. I'm the past president of the Miracle Mile Apartment and Commercial Owners Association. The city attorney has actually ruled in our favor twice that we can't be any less than 45 feet. Mr. Bernstein's numbers are fabricated. There's 32% within that area. The rest of these white spots have already been developed to major density, and I want to go on record to say that. We've owned the property since 1928. And the city is not following the general plan. I worked on the general plan. My comments are in the general plan part 3 for the transportation. To bring the subway back to Wilshire Boulevard, you're not following the consistency plan and you're not following your general plan. The apartment district is between 8th Street and 3rd Street. We're not part of the residential. And so that leads me to believe this is politically motivated. And thank you.
Next speaker, please. Is this Larry?
I represent a property in the 700 block of Dunsmuir Avenue, and my family has owned the property since its construction. In 1988, City Plan Case number 86823, GPC was an attempt to downzone a large area, including this property. The city ruled in our favor, resulting in a zone change from proposed R3 to R4Q. Almost immediately afterwards, there was an attempt to change the property to HPOZ. This was again disputed with the committee, ruling in our favor, and the HPOZ was denied. Again, not long after this, a motion was placed to limit the height on the property to 30 feet. Once again, this was sent to the city attorney's office and again denied. This part is public record and constitutes harassment, and the same issue keeps coming back long after it was determined, and HPOZ made no sense at all. For this area is the real historic buildings which made up the Miracle Mile Historic District, were commercial buildings directly on Wilshire Boulevard, which have mostly been torn down long ago.
Thank you. Thank you. And sir, you're Larry. You didn't identify. You're Larry Sheed. Larry, is your name?
Larry Scheid.
Scheid. I'm sorry. Gotcha. Okay, and we'll be looking for Marnie Greenwald and Randy. Please identify yourself.
My name is Lisa Whitman. I've lived in the Miracle Mile area for over 30 years. I'm opposed to the Miracle Mile HPOZ, and I ask you, the city council members, to stop pushing neighborhoods into the HPOZ until you stop and assess the effect that they have had. HPOZs have been in existence for a number of years now. I first heard about them when I worked with a friend who was having a difficult time painting her home because of the HPOZ that was in place. It took a lot of time and a lot of more money than she had anticipated spending. No assessment has been done on these. I've heard stories of people who have moved out of the HPOZ in Highland Park because their neighborhood was deteriorating, while streets away, the neighborhood that was not included was flourishing. She specifically moved away because of that. I've also heard stories of abuse where people have been threatened with scorched earth policy by their HPOZ because a beam that was deteriorating had to be removed unexpectedly.
Thank you. So if I could have the next speaker, please, and please identify yourself.
Jay Schoenfeld. Council members, we need you to vote against the Miracle Mile HPOZ because we, as Angelenos, we're in grave trouble when an HPOZ is used as a tool to prevent home building. We're in grave trouble when a small local organization like the MMRA is able to manipulate and abuse the planning system. And we're in grave trouble when a city department like the Office of Historic Resources sponsors that abuse. Billions of tax dollars have literally been spent extending the Purple Line, and the only way this investment is going to make any financial sense is through density. And the adoption of the HPOZ would be an absolute institutional failure by the city, an insult to the mayor, and an insult to the tax dollars that we've spent and squandered on a subway line whose ridership will now be limited. I want Miracle Mile to blossom and be everything that it could be. But if this HPOZ is adopted, it will be severely limited and it will never flourish. Please vote
Thank you,
against
sir.
the HPOZ.
Thank you. If I could have the next speaker, if you'd identify yourself.
Good morning. My name is Henry Van Moyland, and I live in the proposed HPOZ. It's probably not often that legislation is so obviously both bad planning and bad conservation that it actually succeeds in creating a new organization to make sure this kind of abuse never happens again. But the Miracle Mile HPOZ has succeeded in doing exactly that. This HPOZ downzones a swath of multifamily buildings in walking distance from the subway, while OHR's defense of the preservation plan seems to rely on the HPOZ board not following it. Miracle Mile Forward, the successor to Say No HPOZ, will look to the future and not the past, as A.W. Ross did. It will support our museums, our amenities, the MTA, and the intelligent density that will support them. In contrast to the MMRA, it will operate legally. We are already reaching out to like-minded organizations in our city, and over the coming years, we look forward to working with you and your staffers wherever we can make common cause. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, I'm looking for David Raven, Sheenus, Marnie Greenwald, and Randy, and Brent Gold. Hi, identify yourself.
Good morning. I'm Marnie Greenwald, property owner on the 700 block of South Orange Grove Avenue. It is logical and reasonable to exclude our block from the proposed HPOZ. The portal for the $2 billion Purple Line will be on our block, defining it as an integral part of the transit-oriented Wilshire corridor. I encourage you to look toward the future of Los Angeles with a vision that includes density near transit corridors and stations where such density belongs and is needed, is logical, reasonable, and is practical. I ask you to use best practices in planning a community that allows for ample housing near transit for those who envision daily life without a car. I urge you to exclude the 700 block of South Orange Grove, Ogden from the HPOZ and to support 8th Street as the northernmost boundary. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please identify yourself.
I'm Randy Greenwald, owner of multifamily properties on the 700 South Orange Grove Ogden block along the Purple Line. Property owners on our block request to be excluded from the HPOZ for good reason. $2 billion are being invested in the Purple Line. The only portal for the Wilshire Fairfax station will be located on our block within 500 feet walking distance. Density near transit corridors and stations is a mandated goal and objective, achievable on our block only if it is excluded. Our block is surrounded by high-density contemporary architecture and heavily influenced by commercial and cultural use. Our block petitioned to be excluded. I urge you to exclude our block and others determined by the Planning Commission so that they can be of greater benefit to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. And after let's see who this is.
Hi, my name is David Ravanchanas. I'm here to represent the owners on the west side of Orange Grove. I'm the owner of 829 South Orange Grove. We are a R3 block, one block from the new metro coming to Fairfax and Wilshire, and we wanted to make sure that we are excluded so that we can have housing built there, one block from the metro, the way the city planned the metro to be. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Gold? And after Mr. Gold, Mr. Herman. Yes, sir.
Los Angeles's fraudulent historic preservation bureaucracy is now a facade for city-sponsored theft. You are now stealing homes bit by bit, neighborhood by neighborhood, incremental plunder under a slogan of caring and concern. In the last 10 years, this city's alliance with self-motivated political activists in over 34 neighborhoods comprises perhaps the largest real estate scandal in our city's history. It was politicians and bureaucrats, not legitimate historians or architects, who developed this HPOZ scam. It was built upon a ludicrous, absurd, and irrelevant history which now demands preservation. This government con will cost honest, hard-working homeowners billions of dollars. These are foreseeable losses due to what will be dropping home valuations, multiple fees, fines, litigations, building costs, and usurpation of constitutional rights. This is neither history nor preservation. This is home predation. 20,000 homes so far. If you support this home predator overlay
Thank you, Mr. Gold. Mr. Herman?
You will be preserving is the corrupt and criminal history of
Mr. Gold, thank you, sir. Mr. Herman, if you're going to speak, I already called you twice. Please come to the podium.
Mr. President, there's a request to continue item number 1 to March 31st, 2017, sir.
Without objection.
One item, sir.
Item 28.
Item 28. Exemption from consideration of categorical exemption planning and land use, PLUM. Well, they violated Rule 23 according to the Brown Act. They violated Rule 23. So I'm against every HIPAA zoning change until the magistrate of the FBI investigate these issues of planning and land use management called PLUM, who the fuckers kick me out of the meetings every time because
No,
I
you're
simply
not on
exercise
subject. Get on the subject.
my First Amendment to say fuck you relative to the establishment of the fucking Miracle Mile and all you fucking assholes of the Historic Preservation's overlay zone. Fuck you for the record. 42 U.S.C. 1983. I reserve the balance of my time back to you, Mr. Chair. Avatar.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Root.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, colleagues. Today we have an opportunity to preserve the unique, diverse, and historic identity of Miracle Mile, while still providing for new housing opportunities along a transit corridor. This process has been 2 years in the making, and we appreciate the work, outreach, and numerous hearings that have been held by all the community groups and the Planning Department. I especially want to thank Ken Bernstein, Renata Draglin, the Planning Commission led by David Ambrose, Plum Committee Chair Jose Huizar, and all Plum members, as well as Council President Wesson. My office has conducted extensive outreach and sent over 4,300 letters requesting neighborhood feedback. My office has received feedback from 533 households in support of the HPOZ and 153 households opposed to it. Clearly, an overwhelming majority of responses are supportive of the HPOZ and the re-inclusion of boundaries changed by the Planning Commission. The proposed Miracle Mile HPOZ comprises over 1,300 properties. This includes single-family and multifamily buildings predominantly built between the 1920s through the 1940s. It is incredibly important that all opinions are heard, and my office has worked hard to listen and to build consensus. We improved the preservation plan, as well as significantly increasing community participation along the way. The preservation plan was revised twice, and this HPOZ will be one of the most flexible plans adopted by the city in order to address the concerns raised by those opposed. We want to ensure that the second-story additions, drought-tolerant landscape, contrasting architecture, paint color, and other important issues are allowed or exempt from review. I believe, and we must protect and preserve the historic nature of our neighborhoods. The establishment of this flexible HPOZ for the Miracle Mile area will help further protect historic buildings and guide balanced growth in the neighborhood. I urge my colleagues for an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rue. With that said, Madam Clerk, if we could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that's approved. Okay, next.
Urgent forthwith, Mr. President.
Okay, then let's have a vote on urgent forthwith. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now I'm going to take some of our public comment folk. Going to start off with Mr. Previn, Eric Previn, items 9, 10, 13, 19, 20, 23, 29, 30, and 31, and you'll be followed by Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, sir. It is Eric Previn from CD2 or Studio City. I took a look at item number 10, the Outfront Media Group LLC item, which is effectively signing these guys up to help us with the 356 dash buses and various it's advertising that goes on those vehicles. This is a great deal for them. We're in taking a 20% increase, which is good for us. But the thing that upset me was the RFP yielded one proposal. That always chills the kind of discussion, because I know that there's a lot of players in the advertising business. I wonder how in the world that happened. They are specialists. They changed hands just before. They did a fake-out RFP where they were extending for a couple months. I don't know. We're taking a little more money. We need it, so that's good news. Item number 7, by the way, kudos for the new singular PCS LLC. This is an AT&T group.
Mr. President, item 7 is not
on 9. You start with 9, Mr. President.
Right, okay, but it's an AT&T group, and they're not paying up to
start
snuff.
with 9.
Fair enough. Number 13, we'll go on. Sir, I don't want to quibble with a quibbler. This is about the decriminalization of prostitution for minors, which I think is zeitgeisty. There's been a great push towards CSEC, towards all sorts of ways to not make the victims of sexual predation criminals, which I think is great, and I support not doing that. What I'm a little more concerned about, though, is the folks who are not underage, who are also engaged in this kind of activity, and why it is that we would want to leave them in a criminal state when sometimes they are facing the same pernicious forces that push them into it and keep them. I'm thinking of pimps, sir. And so, whereas I do appreciate what you're reaching for, I wonder if this is the best way to get there, frankly. Item number 19. Do not worry, but we are declaring a various state of emergency all over the place here. Mayor Garcetti is running to the front of that. It's obviously for some kind of funding, but it's for the Inyo Mono flooding area. We had, as you know, we've had a lot of rain, which is good news up there. This is just simply declaring the fact that things have swollen up, and we're gonna be mindful of what we are facing. Item number 23, sir. You or one of, I guess it's Cedillo and Harris Dawson this time, are putting together some money for a reward, and we very much appreciate that. We, meaning the public, but also the LA Times, who take an $1,800 advertising playing, which I've been looking at, and it is a robust number, let's be honest. It is up to $375,000 that this body, every time you do a reward, they get a little howdy-do. So that is of great interest to a market that has suffered from medium to very, very bad coverage. So I bring that to your attention. Item number 20, sir, this is a kudos to you once again. We can't stop praising you, sir.
Thank you. Let's go to his general public comment. Please give him another minute. Go ahead, sir.
Sure. My general public comment would be in connection with the City Watch that my brother Joshua Previn and I wrote in citywatchla.com. It's up there now. It has to do with the very, very confusing news that after what was a $250 or $245 million deficit, we've now miraculously, somehow by tightening various belts this way and that, Ron Galperin, our trusted elected auditor controller, says we may be okay. We may not have to take judgment obligation bonds. That Mr. Faubel has been contorting himself in various ways to push through, not push through, parcel out, not parcel. It's an unbelievable, massive confusion that's been perpetrated against folks who just want to understand what's going on. But now it appears that we're going to possibly lean off of that. And if we do, let's find some ways to save money. And as I started to say last week, you canceled the telecast, by the way. It was not visible up on your website. So you might tell Ted Lynn and Ted Ross of ITA that they need to get that work.
Thank you. So if we can get Mr. Walsh, 9, 13, 19, 20, 21, 30, and 31.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems, and as a matter of identification only, member of an organization called Citizens to Divest LA, 100%. I hope you don't think because I'm up here, I'm a right-winger. I'm as communist as anybody in this room. Number 9, this is a contract with tenant relocation. Yeah, they're doing booming business. They can't even handle it here. They have to outsource it. And they're paying them a fortune, and tenant relocation and issuing a RFP to solicit new bids. New bids. There's nothing booming in this city like tenant relocation, and there's nothing dying like what's happening here, which is you don't have the money and you're near bankruptcy. And everybody knows that. Number 13, this is decriminalization of minors for prostitution offense. That should have been done 100 years ago. These are children. But let me tell you what happens. A piece of black scum at supervisors has a friend who runs an organization. What happens is when a teenage prostitute is picked up, they're sent to this place, which is actually a jail. We've gotten rid of it, and because the city council has done a pretty good job, but there is no bigger racist scumbag than the supervisors and Mark Ridley Thomas, making money out of black children, vomitous scumbag that he is. And I'm not telling you what I really think of him, which is much more negative. Number 19, and then number 20. Number 20 is Gospel Music Festival. Of course, we're in favor of this. These rewards, let me tell you right now, the one person who applied for a reward was denied the reward and given about 1/3. That came through here. They're not interested in rewards. The LA Times won't even print the names of the gangs. Back in New York, they got rid of Gotti by putting publicity on him. Here, the LA City Council, the supervisors won't even mention the names of gangs because that legitimizes them. That's not what legitimizes them. The legitimization of the gangs is...
Thank you. Give him his general public, his minute for general public comment. Go on, Mr. Walsh.
Okay. Now, vote for Cedillo. Well, you are against all these people. You don't like anything. No, Cedillo is the only person you can talk to on the city council. All the rest of you got your head up the mayor's ass, and he's got Cedillo. See, the LA Times isn't supporting Cedillo. They're supporting a bike rider. They're trying to get rid of the one person on this city council who actually occasionally speaks up for us, and he has an excellent staff. Unlike Krikorian, who member of his staff is running for city council in the 7th district. I'm telling you right now that conviction of the person responsible for the death of Aaron Choice, I'm telling you right now, no one's going to give you information.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Let's take a break and now vote on items 10, 19, 21, and 23, and then we'll go back to our general multiple public comment. Well, in fact, we're going to do 19 separately, so let's go 10, 21, 23. So on those items, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now, item 19. So it's my understanding we need to make a technical correction where it relates to the date. It should read 4/7 7 and it 411 and it reads 4-7. So if we could correct that, we can now vote on. Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, just for the record, you corrected Resolution A, Subpart D, Resolution B, Subpart D, and Resolution C, Subpart F. And my understanding, Mr. President, is that if Resolution C is approved, it's unnecessary to approve A and B. My recommendation is that we bifurcate the vote. We take C first, and then if C passes, perhaps somebody will suggest that we don't take A and B.
Let's do that. Ms. Martinez?
I urge that we also adopt Resol C. Do you want to call for the question?
Correct. So that's what we're voting on now, correct?
Right.
All right, so let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay. Without objection, and forthwith?
And so my understanding is the council is choosing not to act on Resolution A and B because
on
we
A
took
and B,
C.
just on C. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
So now let me, if I could get Ms. McAllister on items 11, 13, and 6, and Ms. Pearman 11, 13, and 15. Donna Pearman, Ms. McAllister 11, 13, and 16.
Okay, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, item 11 here, you're talking about housing on Florence. That's in District 8, Harrison Dawson. I've been over to his district, and mostly illegal aliens. I give it about 60-40. We don't need to be building any housing or fixing up anything until we get these illegal aliens out of here, because illegal aliens are allowed to cross the border today and get in an affordable housing tomorrow. There's no citizenship requirement. I want my people, black people, off Skid Row. If anybody should be in this affordable housing, it should be black people. These illegal aliens have no right to be in affordable housing. And I understand some of them are being charged $100 a month, and they're subleasing their own affordable housing. So it's a scam. Number 13, Ms. Martinez, I think she's a hypocrite. The only woman here, she's the one sponsoring this prostitution of children. I was a teacher, and I could just see these kids in my eyes, these 6th graders and 7th graders. How did you want to be a prostitute when you were 5 years old?
Stay on the item.
This is the prostitution. This is item 13. This is about prostitution. We should not be legalizing any prostitution for children. If you have grandchildren, I hope all of them would turn out to be prostitutes. What you have done is you've given children a new vocation. You're saying you can go prostitute. You need a few dollars? This is nothing but a pedophile ring. That's all it is. It's a slick way to make our children. We're going to have a country full of mentally ill children, prostitutes. They're going to put them on drugs. They're going to be drug addicts. We are causing a problem. And your children will be affected. Don't think they won't. I hope every last one of you, nieces, nephews, grandmama, everybody, turn out to be a prostitute, since this is what you want for our children. Now, one other thing. I think these illegal aliens have lowered the morale of this nation. That's why you want a sanctuary city. Obama and the Democrats smuggled in millions of illegal children, and they're in California. That's why you want legalization of prostitution. And you're also kidnapping black children now, so it won't just be these illegals, these Mexicans and from Central and South America. I say, once you start abusing God's children, you're all in trouble. And everybody who voted for this or who will vote for this, you will pay for this, and it's going to come out in your own family, your children, your grandchildren, because when they need an extra $5, they're going to go down the street and get in the bed with Mr. Jones.
Item.
Okay, now, item 16, it's the same thing, linking homeless people. You're linking up illegal aliens with housing. You're not giving black people housing. I would like to ask President Trump in Washington, D.C. to file a criminal investigation for California and the discrimination of black people. We've got black people all over, and we've got 3 council members here who are black, and they're not doing a doggone thing to help their people. All of you should be on Skid Row trying to get black people off Skid Row. And I'm very disappointed in all of you.
Okay, let's give her 1 minute for general public comment.
Attorney General Sessions says that he's going to start withholding federal funds from these sanctuary cities and states, and I am happy about that. I cannot wait until they hold the funds from California. And I also want you arrested. I want these council members arrested. I want the governor, Governor Brown, to be arrested. Viragosa, the mayor, all these mayors. Because what you're doing, you're putting our lives at stake with these criminals being here, and misusing and killing us. You also have marijuana here laced with chemicals. We're going to have addicts who are from marijuana. I know what you're doing. That marijuana is laced. Anybody who smokes some marijuana out of California is out of their mind. You may as well go on the corner and pick something up. This stuff is dangerous. I don't know what you're trying to do to California, but I know the bottom line is pedophilia. Pedophilia and drugs. That's what it is, and making money, and nothing but these Jews. We're going to run these Jews out of this country just like Germany did.
Ms. Pearman.
I like to love what she said, but I don't agree with the idea about the Jews. I love the
She
Jews.
gets 3 minutes.
Anyway,
I'm sorry. Stop for a minute. Let's redo our time. Donna's got items 11, 13, and 15. So
okay.
go ahead.
Just like number one, which I unfortunately didn't get to speak about, this is about we have too much. With a large sanctuary city, we have bonds. This one is in the tune of $9 million.
Mr.
Why do we
President,
put
I don't think
ourselves
we're on any of the items that the speaker signed up for.
Come on, Miss. Get back on 11.
Yeah, this is number 11. It says $9 million. So why do we have to put ourselves in this situation where we have to spend $9 million and we're building more affordable, non-affordable housing to try to fill up all these people with the sanctuary cities and overcrowding Los Angeles. We need to stop that. And number 13, oh yeah, that was the, let me get over there. With the,
13.
Yeah, we need to, this is not good enough, just decriminalizing prostitution. We need to be able to give another vocation, another lifestyle for these women, young girls who are going into prostitutes. We need to be able to get them over into either like other jobs, other employments, or teaching them, hey, how about just stop, say no. You know, what is wrong with teaching young children that they shouldn't be having sex in the first place? Let's say no. Not giving out condoms and, asking the pill and trying to encourage them to allow that it's okay for young children to have sex. Let's just say no to that area. And number 15.
16.
I got 15.
15.
15. That is the universal health care. I'm not sure if that's Obamacare. I don't want it. We need to be able to have more health care areas where people can have plans to go in, and it's not just universal, fit all, doesn't fit anything at all area. So if it's a single payer, I like that part, but I'm not sure what the universal is for. So let's get health care where it's fair to everybody, that our people's premiums won't go up because somebody else gets pay almost nothing for their health care. If you take a little at a time without repeat paychecks, then these people should be able to afford and have an affordable health care system.
Let's give her minute for general public comment.
Okay. California is violating immigration law. This is unconstitutional. It can't be done here in Los Angeles. It's not about accepting diversity in immigration from many areas. I love diversity. It's about no sanctuary for criminal aliens. Stop hiding criminals. It's about not accepting sanctuary for criminal aliens, sanctuary for Syrian refugees that haven't been vetted. In my opinion, bringing in radical Muslims who come to bring Sharia law and destroy America's democracy, to forcibly bring Islam to the world. President Trump wants to keep us safe and stop illegal immigration getting too large to handle. We must deport criminal aliens who steal Social Security numbers, forge checks, assault, rape, and murder. It happens to American citizens, veterans, disabled, legal immigrants, even hurt otherwise law-abiding illegals. No sanctuary city. We can't afford the consequences. City Council, do you want to live next door to the criminal element? I think not. Mr. Garcetti, we need our funding from the federal government. No sanctuary.
Thank you. If I could get Mr. Sachs on items 9, 11, and 16, and Mr. Herman with 12, 18, 20, 25, 27, 29, 30, and 31. Mr. Sachs?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. 9 refers to the tenant relocation through permissible reasons, and 11 refers to the city taking a position on a state legislation for homeless multidisciplinary personal teams the county can form. I thought that was what Measure H was all about, that the county was going to have the ability to provide services for homeless people. And will the people that are relocated out of their homes be actionable for this supportive services for new housing? What exactly is the city doing? This new plan of housing the homelessness. You know, if you think you're going to need 100 Marriott's, residence inns, 100 residence inns, each with 100 rooms. That's 10,000 units that the city is planning on building with the financing that they're talking about. And Mr. Bonin has an idea to put some people in Venice for over $300,000 a year for homeless housing. You'd be better spent
Move
you
to
took
another
that
item,
money
Mr. Sykes.
and
Mr. Sachs.
you
Move to another item.
used it
1 minute per item.
We're talking about resources for homelessness, sir.
But no, I'm just saying you have 3 items,
Yes.
1 minute per item, so move to
well,
another item.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's thank you for allowing the people in their city hall to comment on the items on the agenda. The bonds that you're using for the homes to buy, to purchase, to redevelop, there's nothing about the debt service payment, and that's a big problem because we hear that the city is always now facing another debt. It's in debt for its financial for the next fiscal year. But it's the refinancing for the debt services that keeps rolling over, that never gets paid down. That's the hidden cost of these revenue bonds because they get rolled over and the funding just goes to pay for increases to salaries for city personnel. It's the hidden cost for the revenue bonds that are put out for low-income housing that doesn't exist, that is just a mirage. And you have the same people sitting here for 10, 15, 20 years with the same problem, and the situation is getting worse. Worse. Now we have the mayor has a mandate. 20% of the population.
Thank you. Let's give him his 1 minute for general public comment.
Public comment. It was a fascinating story a couple days ago regarding the health concerns about living by freeways in the city of Los Angeles. The state of California and its greenhouse gas, when the greenhouse gas is mostly legislative. So the city has, Mr. Huizar has asked for a new report on the problems associated with living by freeways. After all the reports that have already been ignored, all the construction that has been going on around downtown area, all the building that's gone up within the proximity of the 110 and the 10 freeways and the 101 freeways, now they're going to do another report for the health concerns about the city of Los Angeles. It's the stupidest load of crap you ever want to hear. Let's do a report. Then we can compare that report to the old report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Okay, Mr. Herman, like I said, it's 12, 18, 20, 25, 27, 29, 30, and 31. Mr. Herman gets 2 minutes and then 1 minute for his general public comment because he already spoke for a minute on the HPOZ item.
Got it down, houseboy. Got it down. CD 14 on item 1. I'm in opposition that exceeds the
That's
40...
not, you got to speak on...
On item 1, sir.
No, Mr. Herman.
Well, hold the
I
clock.
gave you the items.
Hold the clock.
No, I gave you the items.
All right, well.
You're supposed to know what to speak
on this item then. What about this item regarding Avatar and the houseboys at Wesson and Price under item number 12? Let's talk about that bullshit. Chief Legislation Analysis, I got a comment for you. Fuck you. Then I'm going to go to item number, whatever, AB 210 Santiago. Fuck you on homelessness, too. And then I'm going to go to item number Chipmunk 20 and CD7. We don't have a CD7 representative, so fuck you, Ms. Martinez, and the homeless problem and the so-called child pornography and all those sweatshops you have up in the valley. What are the numbers, sir? What are the numbers, sir?
You're not on the item.
25? You want some more?
You're not on the item. Your last warning.
When you're out here and you got the wiggles and the jiggles.
Yeah,
and the
Mr. Herman's still not speaking to any of the
Give
items.
Mr. Herman his 1 minute for general.
time for
Give him his
fucking
1 minute.
45 days beyond the requirement. What item?
You're in general public comment now, Mr. Herman.
All right. Good. Privileges of confidential attorney-client. On January 10, 2017, Rule 23, urgency by motion of Rue and fucking Wesson. Regarding what? Before council, member Rue introduced Rule 23 motion to considerationate the office orally advised that should be council passes a motion the city would be exposed to liability for violating the Brown Act. Once again, you violated the Brown Act with everyone here. And I'm glad they have their signs up so they can do the same thing I'm doing. Exercising our First Amendment and our constitutional right on the free speech and expression. Once again, Wells Fargo, get the fuck out of the business of putting a pipeline up your ass. Take your shit out of our city and leave our sanctuary cities alone. We don't need it. Cut the bonds, cut the money, cut the federal.
Thank you. Okay, so now I want Mr. Mr. Herman, your time is done. Sit down, please. No, Mr. Herman, sit down. He's continuing to disrupt, and it's so unfair to all of the other people that are here to speak. So I think on item 13, do I have a card from a Mr. Kwan? Is it Rob on item 13? Please come forward.
Three years ago, my name is Rob, and 3 years ago, I clerked for the Los Angeles Public Defender. And we had a case where a juvenile client in Compton was being prosecuted for prostitution. She was put on the stand and managed to get out that she was beaten by multiple people who had previously enslaved her into prostitution, forced into the car, and put on the streets again. Not long after that, the prosecutor came up, asked her, "Isn't it true that when you approached Officer John's vehicle, you had a smile on your face?" I hope this council understands the way that things are implemented in the real world, how the prosecutors handle them, because that moment stuck with me, and I know it's stuck with her. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, current bill SB 1322, authored by Senator Holly Mitchell, was signed into law on September of 2016 and went into effect on January 1st of this year. It makes solicitation and loitering with the intent to commit prostitution a misdemeanor that does not apply to children under the age of 18. There are some that would argue that this law ultimately encourages sex trafficking of minors. But let me make sure that we understand what the law is intended to do. This bill does not encourage minors to prostitute themselves, nor does it make prostitution legal, because it's never been a choice of a child. For the last 4 years that I've been serving on this council, I've never met a child who has been a victim of human trafficking that chooses to live this kind of lifestyle for themselves. So to simply imply that is ridiculous, and it's a lie. This law does make it a crime for an adult who attempts to buy a child for the purpose of sex. That is a crime and should be prosecuted. Children should be protected and supported, not abused, raped, or arrested for a crime that they chose not to commit. So I introduced this resolution because SB 1332 is currently being challenged by AB 1402, and it is important that the city take a support in protecting our children in our city and in our state. It is this conversation that we continue to have, because unfortunately when children get picked up in human trafficking, they sometimes get charged with a crime and sometimes get put to jail. And we need to ensure that we protect our kids and that we finally catch up with laws that actually protect our kids and not lock them up, because they're not the ones who chose to enter this kind of lifestyle. So I want to make very clear as to what the intent of SB 1322 really is, and the people who are behind it and perpetrating these lies simply to try to get attention from the media. So I commend Senator Mitchell for putting this law forward. We finally need to catch up with what the rest of the state is doing and not criminalizing our children when they're truly victims of human trafficking. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Mr. Cedillo.
Colleagues, I just feel compelled to stand up and support my colleague on this matter. It is absurd to say anything other than this is a law to protect victims of human trafficking. To assert that somehow this legalizes this conduct is just ridiculous. Holly Mitchell is a champion for the rights of many people, including women, including young girls. And of course, we know without Nuri, we would not have a voice like we did this morning for diversity, for the rights of young women, and for equality in this chamber. And so it is absurd that anyone should suggest otherwise. And so I stand and encourage all of us to support the legislation and support our colleague on this matter. I thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk or Mr. City Attorney, this is a 2-vote. So if one of you could break that down.
Yes, sir. There's a substitute motion which has been posted and circulated, and so council should first vote whether to substitute.
And that's what we'll do. On that item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now let's vote. Again, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that's approved. Okay, now let's vote on items 5, 9, 12, and 15.
And Mr.
So 5, 9, 12, and 16. Let's, on those items, yes, Mr. City Attorney.
And just for the record, we have a technical amendment to item 5, which was posted, doesn't require public comment to be reopened.
Mr. President, just for clarity, number 5 should be voted separately. So just to...
so let's vote on item 5 then. We'll separate it. Let's, Mr. Weezer?
On item 5?
Yes.
Okay, can I speak on that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, colleagues. And this is, I want to just to, again, alert us about the direction we're going with respect to our emergency shelters. And this is something that we confronted when we anticipated a rainy El Nino season last year. We were opening winter shelters to address a shelter crisis, but the city's law related to shelter crises tied our hands in unnecessary ways. It limited how long a shelter could operate and during what months of the year. It also allowed shelters only at night, ensuring that people would be kicked out of the shelter every morning, rain or shine. So there was a sense from many people that we needed to change this, and the council agreed to remove the self-imposed restrictions during El Nino, and that worked out just fine. There were no incidents with the shelter operations. Today, we bring back the ordinance to get rid of the unnecessary limitations on emergency shelters so that we can better address the homelessness crisis and help protect the most vulnerable of our residents. This is also consistent with our comprehensive homeless strategy, which seeks to modernize our emergency shelter system. We have included in this ordinance the application and notification components that we had tested out during El Nino last year. I want to thank Councilmember O'Farrell for his active participation in crafting these provisions. The Plum Committee and our Homelessness and Poverty Chair, Mr. Harris Delson, have been very involved to ensure this moves forward, and we will ensure to work on this issue. You will note that we have asked for a complementary ordinance be developed to address locations zoned below R3 with some additional controls to reduce potential impacts on neighborhoods. And finally, I want to thank Mr. Bonin and Ms. Martinez, who have been very vocal throughout this process, calling for the city to make shelter more available to address the immediate crisis and the inhumanity of thousands of our neighbors sleeping unsheltered on the streets at night. So thank you very much, and thank you to Mr. Harris Dawson as well for his work on this as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Huizar, thank you for your stewardship in shepherding this through committee. This is a long time in coming. The genesis of this was back in September of 2015, when Mr. Cedillo and I put in a motion that the council adopted unanimously, calling for a state of emergency regarding homelessness here in the city of Los Angeles. And it took us 18 months to get to what is really a very simple and common sense place. The state made it considerably easier to declare a state of shelter emergency and allow shelters to open, and the city had for decades handcuffed itself. And this removes many of the handcuffs, many, not all, and makes it easier. So this is an important step forward. But it's very easy for us, I think, in the wake of the passage of Triple H and H, which were hugely important initiatives, in the wake of passage of our comprehensive homelessness strategy, and in the wake of things like this, to think that we've made a lot of progress. We actually haven't made a lot of progress on homelessness yet. I've often said that we've filled out the registration forms for the marathon, and the marathon is actually building the housing that Triple H gives us the opportunity to do, and providing the services that H gives us the opportunity to do, and opening these shelters that this change in the law allows us to do. We still do not treat homelessness like an emergency in Los Angeles. We do not treat the tens of thousands of people living on our streets tonight like we would if there had been an earthquake yesterday. And our sense of urgency cannot flag and cannot waver. We have to keep doing more. We can't rest at all on the laurels of what the voters have approved over the past couple months. We have a long way to go, and I'm glad that we're taking this step today, but it's just one of many, many more we need to keep taking. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to take up items 9, 12, 16, 18, 20, 25, 29, 30, and 31. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now we'll go to item 15, Mr. Barajas. Mr. Brian Barajas, come forward.
I have a simple comment, actually. If the City Council would also, if you do not understand the H.R. 676, which is also a John Conyers bill to introduce a Medicare for All Act, so please look into that. H.R. 676.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, I'd like to now go to the remainder. Mr. Huizar?
Item 5 forthwith, please.
Item 5 forthwith. I'd like to now go back to general public comment, if I could have that on my screen. Barbara Don, Lydia Ponce, Tamara Case, Veronica Wilson. Yes.
Hi, my name is Barbara Don. My husband and I have a violin shop in Glendale. We've been banking with Wells Fargo for over 30 years. When we realized that we were indirectly funding the Dakota Access Pipeline, we decided to look for a different bank. Our bookkeeper said, "But we just bought a year's worth of checks for $600. That's too bad. We're still going to leave Wells Fargo." We watched while the water protectors were abused with tear gas and water cannons, and the lawmakers in North Dakota made it legal to use cars as weapons against the protesters. We have to send a message to the bullies that we're watching them, and we need to support the Native Americans. So please join me in making the right moral choice. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're also looking for Mauro Kasusian or Kakushian, please, and someone named Mim. Please, next one. Person, please come up, identify yourself. There's no order. I'm calling you as it comes, flashes before me. Yes, identify yourself.
Good day, Council. My name is Tamara Case. Thank you once again for allowing me to speak. Once again, we're here and meeting again on the same issue. We urge the Council to put the divestment on your agenda. These are issues we can no longer afford to waste time with. Time is of the essence. Sir, you mentioned your grandchildren and a bright future for them. What kind of future will they have if we don't take these necessary steps to move out of fossil fuel industry and protecting the water and protecting the earth and humanity and indigenous rights and people? It's necessary for future generations and for the future of the earth to move into the direction of sustainability, clean energy, transportation and development. This green movement can create jobs, and there's the source of the sun. These are important issues we need to address now. Please divest.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Min, and I thank the committee for allowing me to speak before you. I feel very humbled and honored. As a current student at UCLA about to face a very uncertain job market, like many other college millennials my age, I face many questions regarding what to do with my future, with my career, and even further ahead, I face many questions regarding what to do about climate change on the horizon when I see on the news every day, every week, every month, another disastrous weather change or ecological disaster, or as many of you have heard more recently, the Dakota Access Pipeline that is being built and violating the land sovereignty of the indigenous peoples there. LA should take a stand like Berkeley, Davis, and other cities.
Thank you. Thank you. If I could have the next speaker, please identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Veronica Wilson. Good morning, council members. Thank you very much for your time. I'll just take off where Min left off. We want LA to be a leader, like cities including Alameda, Berkeley, Davis, Santa Monica, and Seattle that have divested from Wells Fargo Bank in particular. LA would be the largest in this wave of solidarity with Standing Rock and indigenous people, and would send a signal that we're on a path to sustainability. I urge you to stand with indigenous people, with Standing Rock, sever ties with Wells Fargo minimally, and ensure that the fossil fuel industry stops profiting from the destruction of our land and water. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Okay, also, I'm looking for Frank Langston, Dylan DiMacio, David Jurgensen, and Hugh Kinney. Yes, ma'am, please identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Mauro Kakusian. I'm speaking on behalf of the Divest LA movement. Divest LA aims to empower a generation that has been disillusioned with politics. We see a need for young people to not only vote, but engage in their local governments in a direct way during the other 364 days outside of the election day. Tomorrow, we will be joining with ACE and Better Banks LA for a lobby day. We would like to thank council members Wesson, Krikorian, Bonin, Huesar, and Rue for making their staff available. We politely ask the rest of the council to do the same. We also ask council members to consider attending these meetings as well, as you can do a great deal to show our generation that participatory democracy is real and available here in Los Angeles. Divest LA.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Irene Montantes. From funding the DAPL to mortgage fraud,
and discriminatory practices, here is a bullet point breakdown supporting the divestment movement. Our mission: step 1, pass an ordinance to end the city's financial relationship with Wells Fargo. Step 2, amend the current responsible banking ordinance, RBO, to include much stronger social and environmental criteria when considering banking contracts. We the people can leverage our city's financial resources to penalize corruption and reward financial institutions for socially and environmentally cautious business practices. Seattle has recently made headway by successfully contracting to divest $3 billion from Wells Fargo due to their many examples of corrupt business practices. No bank should be able to get away with fraud and corruption. We must make it a standard that to do business with Los Angeles, a bank must pass ethical muster as outlined by a strict responsible banking ordinance divestment target. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. And then we can look. Tiana, Rob, Mariko. Yes, sir. Identify yourself.
My name is Dylan DiMascio, and I am here also alongside for the divestment of LA, and also wanted to move on alongside the sentiment that was presented earlier about diversity being our most important aspect of LA, and saying that, yes, of course, thank you, Mayor Garcetti, for considering for making LA a sanctuary city, and then saying that we then also need to think about how LA works as a nation as a whole. So that way, when we take our money out of Wells Fargo, we're also thinking about our indigenous citizens, and saying that we will not stand when there are crimes being committed against our people, not just us as LA citizens, but also us as American citizens. And so I wanted to make sure that it is clear that we, as LA, are going to be pulling our money out of the banks that are committing these atrocities.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
David Jorgensen.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you guys as well. Thank you, City Council members. I just was handed this motion. Thank you, Councilmember Koretz and O'Farrell, that it looks like we are moving in this direction, that you want to see 30 days for the Office of Finance to show that this is a good move. And I stand in solidarity with my indigenous brothers and sisters, and this is a great move. I was reading Garcetti's statement on clean energy, and LA is the leader in the fight against climate change. We're on our way to clean energy future. So we're going to take our money out of Wells Fargo for them not supporting Dakota Access, nobody that's supporting Keystone Pipeline, Trans-Pecos, Sabal, any of these pipelines. If we're going to move towards clean energy, we need to find a place to put this money that's going to support that. We can't take this money from Wells Fargo and put it with somebody that's doing the same thing. So we really need to look at where this money is going. I know it's a tall order, but I know that this crew can do it. Thank you.
And state your name again for the record. Your name again for the record. Your name.
I'm David Jorgensen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
My name is Hugh Kenny. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I am also here to support Divest LA's movement to move Los Angeles' money from Wells Fargo's banks to less corrupt and destructive investments. Wells Fargo thinks it's a good idea to fund pipelines like the Dakota Access Pipeline that run through other people's lands and under what is in effect the Missouri River, endangering the water of 80 million people and all other living things. Wells Fargo's corrupt practices and contempt of the earth should be sufficient reason to divest, but last year's exposure of their swindling thousands of their own customers should make it easier for you to justify this action to opposing interests. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please. Identify yourself.
My name is Frank Langston. I reported to the council last week that a check vanished from my house in May. I've been looking for it ever since. The detective in charge of the detectives at the 108th station told me that the check had been cashed and it was downtown. He told me that about 5 months ago. I have no luck in it. The check was in my name. Whoever cashed it forged it. And the thing about it, he told me it was cashed. It was downtown, and I had no progress with it. And for a minute, for general public counsel comment, to me, I think is a tragedy and an insult to the general public. You need more time than that. Thank you, sir.
Next speaker. Then I'll be looking for Mr. Barajas and Mr. Jenkins. Yes.
Hi, my name is Mariko Monroe. I thank you for having us today, and I'm grateful to be here, a Los Angeles resident living on Tongva land. I'm here to urge City Council to pass an ordinance to end the city's financial relationship with Wells Fargo. As we know, Wells Fargo has a long history of banking malpractice, anti-consumer, and anti-environmental practices. Let's join Seattle, San Francisco, Davis. I hear Santa Monica is working on it, and lead the country in a wave of divestment. Let's stand up to corrupt banks and say no more. We must lead by example and remove all of our city's operating accounts currently with Wells Fargo, including assets, investments, deposits, and pension funds, and send a loud and clear message to predatory banks that LA will not fund environmental racism and genocide.
Thank you. Next speaker. Yes, sir.
Rob Kwan. I'm the policy director for Divest LA. Some here may think we're unrealistic, but we think the real dreamers are those who believe we can address our problems without also addressing the systemic issues that corrupt our democracy. We have a far more modest dream, that our government will put our people and planet over profit. We have a dream that one day we will live in a nation where we can tell our children about American democracy, and it won't be in the same vein as Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. We've been handed a motion at the last minute. Happy with some things in there and very unhappy to see things not included, specifically actually amending the responsible banking ordinance so that we avoid these kind of problems, specifically changing our investment policy so the second largest holder in there of over $400 million in assets is in Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi, an even larger financier of this pipeline than Wells Fargo. So we don't have $110 million in ExxonMobil. None of that is addressed in this motion.
Thank you. Thank you. If I could have the next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Tayana Viscara. First, let me start off by thanking Councilwoman Martinez for what she's doing with the girl camps, and I honor the fact that she brought up about the human pipeline. And really, honestly, that is the only pipeline that we should be invested in Los Angeles. I had words to share today, and it kind of took a radical shift as I came into the knowledge that oil is now flowing under Lake Oahe and in North Dakota. So everything that we fought for, everything that we stood for is not in vain, because we continue in the movement in divestment here. And I'm asking you to consider the implications, the moral and the ethical and the social implications of the decisions that you're making. And that, like a dear sister of mine from Standing Rock said.
Thank you. Thank you. So if I can have the next speaker. Again, Mr. Barajas, Prentice Jenkins, and Mr. Julius. Yes, sir.
LaRouche Political Action Committee, titled "The Worst Fake News is the Media Refusal to Inform the Population of the New Paradigm Revolution Taking Place." That indication is the following. The very fact that the Trump administration has called on the American system of economics or political economy means the following. Two, first, we're going to get rid of this fascist green ideology that you somehow have to worship Mother Gaia. That's a cult, in a satanic cult at that. Two, that Glass-Steagall will shut down these corrupt bankers, but nobody's pushing for that. Why? So my resolution is this. In a Republican form of government, we do not worship Mother Nature, but God.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins, Peace Between Residents and Police. I want to thank the City Council for settling with Tritobia Ford over the Zell Ford killing, actually Zell Ford murder. I comment at the Board of Supervisors every Tuesday and continue to keep the memory of Ezell Ford at the forefront. I can't get justice for the dead. I can't get justice for Ezell Ford. He's dead. You can't get justice for the dead, but you can get justice for the living, for his mother, Tritobia Ford, and for Waukesha Wilson, whose mother, Mrs. Hines, is looking to find out what happened to her daughter. And also, I want to say there will come a time when there's something called racist versus the racist.
Okay. I don't have your card, but come on up, sir.
I signed up. My name is K. Utumi.
Wait, could you give me your name again?
K. Utumi.
Okay, so next time, just fill in the card like everybody else. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Los Angeles cannot afford to bank with Wells Fargo with our tax money due to the unethical banking practice. I urge you to stand with Standing Rock statement today against the Standing Rock Dakota Access, against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Predatory banking, polluting banking, land-destroying banking, air-destroying banking, health-destroying banking, life-destroying banking has got to go. Stand with Standing Rock and divert our tax money from Wells Fargo.
Thank you, sir. Julius.
Hi, Herb Wesson, my corporate fuel. Please don't let them tear down the five-star bar. It's a national monument because I've done some of my greatest drinking there, some of my greatest super genius thinking there. Mr. O'Farrell is not a man with honor. I ask the citizens of LA in his district to please vote him out. I am the true president of America. You don't know that because I'm being blacklisted. Go to immortalitytoday.org and you will see how true that is. Thank you.
Okay. All righty then. What is before?
Mr. President, council may vote on item 11 now.
Okay, let's vote on item. Wait, don't I have a card on 27? Do I have a card on item 27?
Yes.
Okay, let's do 27. Mr. Deering, Henry, item 27, are you here? I don't see him. Mr. Henry Deering, are you here? Oh, I see him in the back. Item 27? No. All right, let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, now let's go to, Madam Clerk, what was that you said? Was it 11?
Item 11, there was a verbal motion by Mr. Cedillo to adopt the CAO report recommendations.
I'll second it if he needs a second. Let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That brings us where, Mr. Cedillo? Forthwith on item 11. We need to do a urgent forthwith on item 31. So let's vote on the urgent forthwith. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, so that brings us where?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted, they are referred. Announcements, members, any announcements? If I could have everyone please rise for adjourning motions. Please rise for adjourning motions. Okay, I'm going to start to my right, Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. It's with real solemn occasion that I ask that we adjourn in the memory of someone who you all know here, Mike Garcia. Many of you know that we lost a warrior, a labor law warrior, this Saturday. He not only brought to the forefront issues of working families, but also brought together the concept that it's not only an issue for working families that we are fighting for, but also one of racial justice, immigrant justice, environmental justice, and social justice. I thought I'd read into the record a little bit of his background to get a sense of the impact that he has had on all of us, and how he's made L.A. and certainly the nation a better place for all of us. He started his union advocacy over 30 years ago when he first worked to build a powerhouse of janitors, first in San Jose, then later in San Diego and Denver. He lifted these workers out of the shadows of our society and gave them a path to dignity. Mike was a driving force in the Justice for Janitors movement, as you know, which helped janitors lift themselves out of poverty across the country. He was a longtime president of SEIU 1877, where he joined with the Los Angeles Janitors Union and created a powerful voice for janitors, which eventually led to the massive strike in 2000. This historic strike changed the lives of thousands of janitors and expanded the union consciousness of all those involved in the strike. During the strike, workers at 500 work sites walked off their jobs for 3 weeks, a massive demonstration of unity and worker power. The momentum of the strike of 2000 set the foundation for a movement to lift up other underpaid workers all over the state with a period of dramatic organizing and growth. Janitors stood in solidarity with security officers in Los Angeles and the Bay Area. Then airport workers spoke up for good jobs and respect at LAX and at other airports as well. In 2010, he helped create a statewide union for property service workers, SEIU United Service Workers West. He was able to bring together these workers from unique industries and diverse backgrounds from across the state and unite the 40,000 union members in the battle for just workplaces and for an economy that shunned economic disparity. Thousands of workers who once lurked in the underbelly of our workforce now had a voice and were able to stand up to the wealthiest and most influential companies in the world to win victories for their families and for our communities. The Garcia family will forever miss Mike, but they know that his legacy will live on in the hearts of the workers he impacted and in the spirit of those who will continue to be inspired by his leadership, passion, and dedication to the labor movement. He will sorely be missed, but I think he leaves with us a legacy of great impact that we will forever remember. And those of you who spoke to him on many occasions know that he was kind of a quiet leader with a tremendous impact. The quietness came from his humbleness, but certainly when he spoke, you listened. And when you listened, we did it out of respect for the person that he was and what he represented. And certainly with that janitor strike back in 2000, we still feel the ripple effects that I think it was a turning point for the city where unions had more of a say in what happened here. And it showed that no matter how powerful many of these corporate interests may be, it's right and just to stand up against them, and it's possible. May Mike rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Koretz.
I'd like to add that he certainly was one of the best respected and most dedicated union leaders in Los Angeles, and he got me very involved in the Justice for Janitors strike, which I participated in very actively. But it was easy to get a little West Hollywood council member to spend some time on it, but I was surprised that he brought leaders from all over the country on this. I was surprised to participate in a press conference with folks like Ted Kennedy speaking and march with my little 8-year-old daughter at the time and find that Jesse Jackson had joined us, which was interesting because she had just had a lesson on Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson, and a couple days later she was marching with them. That was one of the most courageous and most successful strikes, I think, in Los Angeles history, and I don't think it could have been done without Mike Garcia. It was sad to see him in bad health in the later years of his life. We were honored when he was able to show up at an event because we all knew he was struggling. But we all have tremendous respect for him, and I'm pleased that we're adjourning his memory.
Ms. Martinez?
Thank you. I want to join Mr. Weezer in adjourning in the memory of Mike. I was planning to do the same thing, but I just want to say, on a personal note, Mike wasn't only a labor leader, but he was a personal friend of my family. I remember that right before we got married, my husband and I, he would tease us and say, couples who get arrested together stay together. And Jerry and I got arrested a few times on behalf of the movement, on behalf of janitors and hotel workers. But I remember in particular back in the janitor strike of 2000 here in Los Angeles, and we all remember this, Mike used to say, and I recall some of this stuff when he used to get up and chant in terms of why he did what he did. And he would often say, change the lives of thousands of janitors and immigrants everywhere. Janitors, the real heroes of this strike, laid it all on the line, took risk and sacrificed the little that they had for dignity and respect. They taught us never to lead from a place of fear, but courage and a sense of what is right. It was a fight to be seen as human beings in this country, a fight to come out of the shadows and struggle that showed us that when we fight, we win, and that was Mike. He taught us so much, but for kids like my husband and I, in the late 90s when we first met him, and every time he called upon us, we made sure to show up and do everything we could for the dignity of others. Mike lived in the San Fernando Valley. A lot of people don't know that. He lived in Sylmar before he got sick. He moved to San Jose with his wife. And he's going to be dearly missed. So, brother, rest in peace. We love you. Thank you, Mr. Weezer.
He was just, he's a good one. And just ordinary, the show. Ordinary, I guess the proof that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Mm-hmm. That's Mike. Simple, honest, straightforward, persistent, but just a really solid guy. Mr. Cedillo.
Yes, Mike Garcia, like for all of us, was a dear, dear friend. I was happy to see him last Saturday. Dan Savage and I took a drive from Sacramento to San Jose and spent the afternoon with him and his wife, Gloria, reflecting on some memories, but Mike, as always, strategic, energetic, enthusiastic, wanted to know about my re-election campaign, who was helping, who wasn't helping, who could he call, why weren't other people there, why were people there, etc. Never changed. He began, his father was a member of the LA Fire Department. He's from the Valley, San Fernando Valley High. He went to CSUN. He actually has an advanced degree. People recall that the janitors in 1990 were beaten at Century City. And a lot of changes began to take place within the janitors movement and within SEIU after that beating that took place. I got to meet Mike in the summer of 1991 at a meeting in Portland, Oregon. I was up to meet our national president, John Sweeney, And then Mike gathered a group of people. Seemed like a lot of people were named Mike up there. And so we met a lot of people up in Portland, Oregon. The Firmes is what they were referred to. And we got to know each other. Shortly thereafter, in 1992, because of those changes taking place, because of the demographic changes taking place in the labor movement, a focus began on incorporating Latinos into the labor movement and into the leadership. And so the janitorial industry changed. It had been primarily African American and changed to becoming primarily Latino immigrant. And those immigrants voted themselves into leadership. They took 20 of 22 seats at the Janitors Union in 1992. And as a result of that, they had a lot of challenges. They couldn't go forward. There was an internal conflict. And so after serving in San Jose, in San Diego, in Denver, SEIU asked Mike Garcia to come to Los Angeles. And so he moved to Los Angeles and began the process of creating a statewide janitors union, one that would be stationed both in Los Angeles and San Jose. And so that's when he came to Los Angeles in 1992. He returned home. For over 35 years, he was essentially one of the key architects and leaders of that movement, a bottom-up movement. And as you said, Mike was an ordinary man who was engaged in extraordinary change. He took on Oracle and Apple, Hewlett-Packard in San Jose. In 1994, he was one of the few voices in 187 in SEIU who recognized that if SEIU was going to be successful, it had to join the burgeoning movement of immigrants against Proposition 187. And at that time, there were a few voices who thought that we should unite with immigrants. There was a lot of pushback in Sacramento, including from the Democrats and from the Speaker. There were efforts to block this up from the bottom movement here in Los Angeles. You recall characters like Dean Tips, a political leader of SEIU, and Ben Montoroso, another political leader, who did not think that we should unite labor with immigrants. Mike was one of the voices that thought otherwise, and he was right. And so Mike, with many others, helped lead this movement in 1994 against Proposition 187. As we all know, he was the leader, the face, the spokesperson, the courage of that strike in 2000. And for 30 days, this city was in tumult. It was upside down. In the evenings, janitors would just walk out of their buildings throughout downtown Los Angeles and gather at various places. It was incredibly tense. They were confronted by the LAPD. Face-to-face confrontations were nightly. And there was always the danger of us going over the edge during that strike. You recall that we came down from Sacramento to meet with both the LAPD and the janitors to try to find a resolution, working with the governor, Gray Davis at the time, to see if we could figure out the principal issue, which was accessing health care for janitors and raising their salaries. And so for 30 days, this city watched, and the nation watched, one of the most pivotal strikes in the history of the American labor movement. Subsequent to that, Mike figured out a way that people didn't think could happen. There's a lot of talk frequently about tension and competition between African Americans and Latinos for political power. But in this city and these workplaces, like the city of Los Angeles or the county of Los Angeles, in our communities and here on this floor, we don't see that. What we see is cooperation, collaboration, and management of demographic change. We see that with respect, and we see that with a vision looking forward. Mike was part of that when he created the union, bringing security guards, principally African Americans, with janitors and bringing them under one umbrella. You could go to his union headquarters on any of their events and find a fascinating evening of music and festivity and food and culture from two very prominent communities in this city, African Americans and Latino immigrants. That was the vision of Mike Garcia. That was his wisdom. That was his contribution to today's American labor movement. He should be remembered as a giant of this movement. His name is not recognized enough, his work is not valued enough, and his place in history has not taken its full place. We should move forward to ensure that that becomes the case as we move forward. As Nuri said, he was a simple man who understood a very simple principle. If we fight, we win. Thank you.
Amen to that. Okay, I'm still looking to my right. Now I'm looking to my left, Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you very much. Today, I also ask that we adjourn in the memory of Lois Williams. Lois Williams was the mother of my district chief of staff, Lynn Shaw. Lynn has worked with me since I first ran for assembly 9 years ago, but I knew her and her mother for years before that, and some of you may probably know her mother as well. She has been an activist for years. She passed away in her sleep at her home, surrounded by family, just 2 weeks after her 96th birthday. She died of what she called complications of, quote, being too damn old. She spent her life defending the rights of workers to organize and participate in the democratic process. She had a lifetime commitment to social justice, was truly an amazing woman, a tried and true Democrat like no other. She was affiliated with the Democratic Party ever since she first cast her vote for Harry Truman. She served as the president and lifetime member of the Verdugo Hills Democratic Club, treasurer and secretary of the 43rd Assembly District Committee. She was the regional vice president and chair of the endorsements committee of the California Democratic Council, a member of the Democrats for Neighborhood Action, Action Democrats. She served on the steering committee of the Stonewall Democratic Club. You talk about a local activist. I mean, you look in the dictionary under local activist and you will see Lois Williams. She was a longtime member of the Los Angeles County Democratic Central Committee and the California Democratic Party State Central Committee, and a founding member of the 27th Congressional District Democratic Club. She held leadership positions in the executive party of the San Fernando Valley and was a founding member of Citizens for Utility Rate Balance, a founding member and president of the Mid-Valley Democratic Club, the executive secretary and treasurer of the Council of Engineers and Scientists organization, and the executive secretary of the Engineers and Scientists Guild, the Lockheed section, to name a few of her many political and union activities. And as an officer at the Engineers and Scientists Guild, she advanced an array of progressive programs and was an early supporter of a conversion policy in the defense industry, child care in the workplace, portable pensions, and health care for all. She was involved in these issues before they became mainstream issues. She's one of those local people who had that North Star of progressivism and pushed as she could. She was an ardent supporter of the union movement. She helped write the curriculum for teaching union history in schools more than 35 years ago. She was awarded the Mimi and Lou Robbins Distinguished Achievement Award from the Action Democrats of the San Fernando Valley in 2012. She is survived by her daughter, Lynn Shaw, her son-in-law, Jim Hilfenhaus, her granddogs, Lily and Otis, and all of us who, whether we realize it or not, have been touched by her legacy and her generation and her drive to make this country better, to make her community better. She raised an amazing family, has an amazing daughter. May she rest in peace.
Now we know how Lynn got it, honestly. That we know. So I'm going to continue to look to my left. I don't see any more adjourning motions to my left or right. This meeting's adjourned.